I welcome the opportunity to give evidence on the general principles of the Ecocide Scotland Bill, and I thank the committee for your extensive scrutiny that you've undertaken so far. Scotland must be more ambitious and effective when it comes to environmental protection. I hope the bill is helping us to recognise that the most egregious acts of environmental destruction must be treated as serious crimes they are. I found the scrutiny process at stage 1 incredibly valuable, not least in providing reassurance to stakeholders about the bill's scope and, crucially, what it is not going to do. I want to be really clear on this point. The bill is not going to criminalise legitimate licensed activities. It's not going after businesses operating responsibly under current regulations. I will happily support the Scottish Government's proposed amendments on permits, which will make this fact abundantly clear. I also want to reassure the committee that the bill is not going to clog up the planning system. As a former planner, I know that the planning system already considers environmental impact and requires mitigating measures to prevent long-term harm. This bill is designed to sit far above that, at the top of the regulatory pyramid, to deter and punish acts of severe environmental destruction. The definition of ecocide in this bill is not a new legal invention, but is underpinned by familiar concepts in existing law, drawing from the Regulatory Reform Act of 2014, the RRA. I welcome the Cabinet Secretary's confirmation that the Scottish Government is content with the definition. However, simply tweaking the RRA is not enough. The offence under the RRA is one of strict liability. It is not designed for the extremely serious nature of an ecocide offence. Changing the penalties, for example, from a maximum of 5 years imprisonment to 8 years, will not fundamentally alter how that offence functions. That is why we need a standalone crime where the mental threshold and the associated penalties are high, designed to sit above the RRA. This new offence gives the Crown Office and Procurator Fiscal Service an essential additional option for prosecution for the more serious environmental crimes. Furthermore, I welcome the Government's proposed amendments that would ensure if the higher threshold for an ecocide conviction cannot be reached, alternative penalties under the RRA are still available. This tiered approach has precedent in other legislation, and I think it's a sensible step that will strengthen the bill. Turning to deterrence and changing behaviours, the severity of the penalty is an intentional and necessary deterrent. As the Law Society of Scotland observed, the new offence is expected to foster a change of behaviour towards environmental risk, acting as a clear, dissuasive message to those who may cause environmental harm. This is about changing corporate culture and sending an unmistakable signal that Scotland places the value of our nature above illegal profit. The support for this bill comes not just from environmental groups, but from within the compliance system itself, including trade union members in SEPA, who recognise the limits of the current legal framework. I'm confident that the issues raised during stage 1 were carefully considered during the drafting process of the bill. However, I'm pragmatic and I've been listening, and where there is evidence that a tweak would strengthen the bill, I'm prepared to act. I'll happily work with the Government on amendments, specifically including a clear permit defence, re-examining the reverse burden of proof, amending the reporting obligation and adding an explicit alternative conviction procedure to ensure the bill is robust and delivers its core purpose. Finally, while my bill does not address the issues of existing resources for regulatory bodies or the lack of prosecutions under the existing legislation, I hope these areas are addressed by the Government as a complementary action to this bill. Convener, in closing, the movement to criminalise ecocide is an international one, with many countries and the EU recognising the need for action. Scotland's nature is extraordinary, but we are also one of the most nature-depleted countries in the world. The level of support for the bill should reassure us that the people of Scotland care and want to see severe environmental damage criminalised to protect current and future generations. That's why I hope the general principles of the bill will be welcomed by the committee, and I look forward to your questions.